Okay, we're gonna start off the day on a hike. From this bridge, it's a bit breezy with some wind. We get a really beautiful view of the shore. The beach is beautiful and the water is turquoise green. And we are gonna head out to one of the highest points in Koh Tao, and this is also one of the most beautiful points. You can get a beautiful view of the surrounding islands. I've heard so many things about it, and this is my first time up here. One thing that's really surprising is that the ground is really dry. Not something I was expecting, especially since the hike seems like it's a lush jungle terrain. But it's actually better that the ground isn't damp, just because that would add to the humidity and it would actually make the hike a lot more difficult. But the best thing is there's no sun, which I personally prefer because the sun can be brutal sometimes in these islands, and it can get up to 40 degrees Celsius and higher. So I really like how this path is almost like zigzagging and weaving its way up through this mountainside. And there's definitely some areas where it's more flat and it's easier. And then there's some areas where the climb is really steep and it's also more vertical. Here it feels like we're approaching a much more vertical path. I for one like these steps a lot. I've seen other steps where the steps are almost made from other stones mixed in with concrete, and some of those stones that they mix in can actually get polished from all the foot traffic, but some of those stones can actually get really slippery when it's really moist or when it rains. I do really like how some of these trees are sprouting through the pathway and bursting through the stone. But it does seem like there's a lot of trees growing around the path, and as we get higher up and the path starts to flatten out, we'll see a lot of boulders. There's some really cool areas here where trees are just growing beside the boulders, and these boulders are just massive. Some of them are the size of a one-story building, and it just creates a really nice flow how they come in and butt up right against the path. And the path actually carves its way right through a boulder, which I think is so cool and so unique. And sometimes there's these side paths that will actually allow you to check out different levels of where you're hiking through. So these boulders here are just everywhere. And so we're coming up towards the top. And this is where we find a lot more steps. And these steps are just zigzagging through this area. And you can tell we're getting close up because this is where it starts getting a lot more steeper. And you can usually tell that when the path starts zigzagging, usually means that it's crisscrossing through a lot of rock. So when they're creating this, they couldn't really build it through straight up because there's just so much rock in their way. So they had to really curve the path around the rock, and that's why it's zigzagging so much. And some of these areas get really tight just because it's crossing through some really tight cracks around these crevices. But we made it to the top, and I just gotta say that this view is just gorgeous. Mind you, it's super windy up here. The temperature probably dropped about 10 or 15 degrees, and it's just really calm, tranquil, and just really peaceful. You can really see the turquoise ocean, and that sandbar is connecting 3 islands together. Super nice. This is just a really beautiful view. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.